skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Gorgeous. My name is Craigers. Big show today. I'm going to answer your questions later. Very popular segment. Keep those questions coming at the YouTube channel. Today's guest is Alison Martino. She has a great Instagram, Vintage LA. She is Al Martino's daughter. Al Martino played Johnny Fontane in The Godfather. She knows everything and everybody in Hollywood. Let's meet her right now. This is Alison Martino, and we're dissolving. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the Godmother. I didn't mean to yell. The Godmother of Los Angeles. And one of my favorite Instagrams, Vintage LA, it is Alison Martino, my friend Alison. How are you?
Hi, nice to see you.
How is life? How is the summer? I wanted to ask you, for example, how many times have you been to Dantana's this summer, and how many times have you been to Musso and Frank?
I might go to Dantana's after this.
Wow.
Want to join me? Let's go.
Oh my God. That's tempting. Yeah,
I'm telling you.
What is
should.
your connection with Dantana's?
Oh my gosh. It starts before I can even remember. I mean, my parents took me there when I was younger. And then it became very important to me later in life when I became older, in my early 20s, when I started working in the industry.
Right.
It's just where everybody went. You know, everybody went to the bar. The bar was the scene. And Mike, the bartender that was there 50-something years, became a very, very good friend. And it's a place that feels like home to me, like my office. And there's been so many people that have come and gone through the years, but you know, you always see a familiar face every time you go in there.
Yeah.
It feels like a party to me.
For people who don't know, it's a very popular restaurant. Dabney Coleman, Vlade Divac, James Worthy, Jerry West, a lot of, and it's small. It's in West Hollywood on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Yeah.
Great Italian food.
And Harry Dean Stanton was like, you know.
He was a regular.
He they had a cot for him in the back room. I don't know. I mean, he used to come in and play his harmonica late at night, and the whole place would just listen to the stories. And it kind of was like Elaine's in New York, you know, back in the day when everyone would go there after a Broadway show. And I felt like Dantana's, but this is years ago, that the late crowd there was very interesting to go in after 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night after a movie, or where you were beforehand that night. Now I'm older. I go in at 6 o'clock.
Right. That's what I do. I do the same. I go in at 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Now, for people who don't know across the country, and of course, this podcast reaches the world, Paris, London, everywhere. You're a legend in LA. I love your taste. You love old Hollywood. I love old Hollywood. And I think for you, it started because your dad's a legend, the great Italian singer, Al Martino.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I guess I grew up in that era of, you know, Dad never liked the word crooner, but that's how you describe, you know, the guys that really came from that, the ones that started that. Now we embrace the word very much, but, you know, Italian-American singer that sang the standards.
Yep.
You know, there was about 10 of those guys, and, you know, Dad was one of them. So I was very fortunate to grow up around a lot of music in my house.
Spanish Eyes. That was a big one. Was that one of his biggest ones, Spanish Eyes?
That was his big one in the 60s, you know, during the era when, you know, music is changing and Motown is hitting, the psychedelic rock is hitting. And for some reason, he lasted in that era, you know, in the 60s because, you know, back in the day, an AM radio played everything all on one station, all in the same station. So you'd hear Al Martino back to back, then the Doors of the Stones, and, you know, Motown and folk, and it was all together in one Billboard chart. So that was pretty exciting to be in radio at that time.
And you were born in, I don't know what to say, but you were born, you know, right before The Godfather was released and shot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your dad, Al, played Johnny Fontane.
Yeah.
Do you remember any stories? Did he tell you stories about shooting The Godfather?
It was just a movie that is just, it was in our lives every day. years and years later. Because
Right.
I don't think anyone knew at the time what it was going to be. I think Dad told me it was when, there was a scene in it. It's the funeral scene when they line up all the antique cars that come up, and they were like, there was a lot of those cars. And I think that's when Dad realized this is some production. I mean, this is really authentic.
Right.
They shot a lot out of sequence. So you didn't really know some of these other scenes that were going to happen until you saw the movie in the theater.
Right.
And then you see there's my cat in the background. And then, you got to see all these big stars that came out of the film.
Right.
When you think about it, I mean, my dad and Marlon were known before they went in. Of course, Marlon Brando, you can't even compare. But Dad was a name. And,
Right.
Pacino and Diane Keaton, they weren't. So
Right.
this movie made everyone, James Caan, all of them huge stars. And through the years, all the anniversaries that would happen, the 25th or even the 40th and the 50th, which is this year, it's always been such an honor to be a part of it. They flew us out for the 25th anniversary in San Francisco, which everyone was there
Right.
except Marlon. I mean, everyone was there. And God, you think 25 years later, now it's 50, it seemed like an event back then. That it's just a movie that just gets better and better as time goes on.
How old were you when your dad told you, hey, I was in The Godfather, or there's this movie called The Godfather? Were you like 7 or 8 when you?
I was probably about 6. It was when they were playing it on television, which was like a really big deal.
Right.
And they were airing 1 and 2 together and doing it, and kind of like starting with 2, and I wanted to see it because I had just been, since I was a kid, I knew my dad was in this big movie, and it was violent because I'm 6 or 7, and I wanted to see it. And I always knew that in the first one, Dad is up in the first 15 minutes of the film. But when you watch 2 first before 1, I waited 2 hours as a kid, and I was, oh my God, this is. I knew it was a really big deal, but it was always really neat to see your dad singing in a movie.
Right.
I hadn't seen it on the screen till I was probably in my 20s because I don't remember seeing it in the 80s in the theaters. Now it seems like it's coming out every couple years but this 50th has been a pretty big moment for us because they screened it at the Academy for the 50th with a beautifully restored print. I was blown away by it.
Did you happen to see The Offer, the 10-part series?
Yes.
What did you think? I found it very. Oh, you didn't like it?
No.
I found it entertaining because I knew Robert Evans pretty well, and I thought Matthew Good did a great job. What, you didn't care for it?
No, because they say in this offer that they offered the part to Vic Damone first,
right?
And there's a whole episode where they go to Vegas to try to get Vic Damone. It never happened.
Right? They embellish. Okay. They make
Dad
stuff up.
Dad had that from the beginning. Bob told Dad that. And I think that the real story of that is actually more interesting than the way the offer played it because they played it like, oh, we couldn't get Vic Damone, now what do we do? Okay.
Right.
But really what Bob said is, to Dad, once you take this part of Johnny Fontane, you're probably going to get blackballed from Vegas.
Oh.
And he did. And he didn't play Vegas for over 25 years.
Wait a second. Al didn't?
No.
Really?
No, because, that's a really tough town not to be playing when you're that kind of.
I thought once the movie came out, it was embraced.
No, Dad had some flack from Frank Sinatra. Mm-hmm. He didn't want that character in the movie at all.
Right.
And I think that he, I think he told some of the promoters in different casinos in Vegas, Martino overplays here. I'm not playing here anymore, or something like that. And he was pissed. But he didn't understand why my dad wanted to take the part too. It's a role in a film, and he was the part was very close to some contract disputes he had when he was growing up. I mean, especially in the early 50s. So that part was a way. He got that part through Phyllis McGuire, who was dating Sam Giancana at the time, and that script was going around, and they were having dinners together. And he said, you should. This is you. They're reading this script, and nobody had been attached to it, not Coppola, nobody. And Dad was friends with Bob. They go back, to the 50s together. Dad used to call him Cary Grant, and Cary Grant's at the door. And when that part was kind of out there and people were auditioning for it, he asked Bob if he could audition, and Bob said, "You don't have to audition; it's yours."
When you say Bob, you mean Robert Evans?
Robert Evans had Dad come down to his office in Beverly Hills at the time on Cannon, and they sat for about 30 minutes. My mom was in the car waiting. She was like, "Is he going to get it or not?"
Right.
And she could tell when he walked out of the, walked to the car that, he had the part. And that was it. There was never any other person considered.
Well, the other thing with The Offer was there was a great character named Barry Lapidus, played by Colin Hanks, and it's a completely made up character. The character wasn't real, but it was an executive, and it helps with the storyline. So they make stuff up. So you knew Bob Evans as well. Did you know Robert Evans? Personally, did you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, he didn't live that far from us.
Right.
So we'd see him on occasion a lot, and especially out at dinner. We would run into him at the Palm quite a bit.
Right.
He liked the Palm.
He
also
the old
lived, Palm.
And he lived close to, I had dinner with him at the Palm. He lived close where his house was, because I've been to his house many times, but to the Polo Lounge, which is, it's prominent in The Offer, although it's obviously a set. Ladies and gentlemen, Zelle is a great way to send money to family and friends, no matter where they bank in the U.S. As you can tell by looking at me, Craigers eats out a lot. Oh, a lot of French restaurants. And sometimes my friends pick up the bill, and I don't like that. That's a no-no. So after dinner, I look them in the eyes, shake their hands, and I say, I'm going to send you some money through Zelle. And I send them hundreds of dollars because I ordered a lot of food. Sometimes we have a barbecue down in the park and everyone pitches in, and I use Zelle. And I send my friends hundreds of dollars through Zelle. It's kind of a rush. I'm in the park, I'm wearing linen, I'm having barbecue, and then I'm sending money to friends. I like Zelle. Money sent goes straight into the recipient's bank account, typically in minutes between enrolled users. And you don't have to download another app because it's probably already in your banking app. That's convenient. So look for Zelle in your banking app today. Thanks for listening. I'm a very, very good person. So when you were growing up, it sounds like you had fun, but it wasn't a normal childhood. Did you have celebs popping in and out of your house growing up or not?
Well, when you're younger, it seems normal, but now looking back on it, I realize now that was a bit different. But when your dad's a singer like that and he's performing in casinos and nightclubs around the country, back then in the world, comics opened for, those acts a lot, whether it was Joan Rivers or George Carlin. And so Dad became very friendly with comics. And so there were a lot of comics in my life growing up, and our dinner parties were very entertaining, because Joey Bishop was a big part of our lives growing up, and Buddy Hackett, and later in life, Don Rickles. And it seemed like they all knew each other, and they all bonded from that era, in Baby Vegas, Atlantic City, the Fountain Blue, there were just certain places. A lot of them had the same agents.
Right.
So, it was, everybody knew each other from Dad, and Dad loved to entertain, and he loved to cook. And so they all loved to come over and taste Dad's cooking. So
that sounds
really,
it sounds magical, but I can't fully describe to the people your vibe and your essence that you have, which is you love old Hollywood. You post things on Instagram. You get upset, as do I, when they tear down an old building and put up a new condo. It's very upsetting to us.
Yeah.
But you also, I can't put my finger on it, but you hang out with Morrissey. That has nothing to do with the 60s and the Rat Pack or anything. You hang out with Morrissey from the Smiths. I mean, what's that like?
Well, I met him actually at the Sunset Marquee where we had a drink there once.
Yeah.
And he's a fan of Dad's. And
oh, wow.
He wrote in his book that Dad snubbed him backstage when he went to see him somewhere in London or something. And it always bothered me because I'm like, Dad wouldn't have snubbed him. That's wrong. And there he was at the Sunset Marquee. And I just walked up to him and I said, we gotta clear something up here, Morrissey. Dad didn't snub you. And of course he was like, oh God, I'm so sorry. And he sent my mom and I a bottle of champagne. And I thought he was just lovely. And anyway, we became friendly after that. So he's in LA quite a bit, and when he is, we just saw him for his birthday, and he's an interesting character.
Yeah, I interviewed him on the show, and he was on a couple times. He was great, very nice guy. I mean, nice. Yeah. He was nice to me. He said I was a nice guy. That's why he let me interview him. But it was funny because he's known as the mayor of Mope and all this kind of depressing stuff, and And I interviewed him. I've said, no, I'm upbeat. He goes, oh, are you really, Craig? I don't think you're really that happy. Like, it's so silly. But do you, it appears, Alison, that you go out 7 nights a week. And I don't know how you do it, but that's how it appears on your Instagram, because you're wining and dining with all these different people, all these great restaurants. Do you go out almost every night or what?
Well, I don't cook and I love to eat. So, I just live in a city that I happen to love with some of the greatest places around. And I love getting to know people. I'm like a restaurant groupie, and I love maitre d's and I love waiters and I love restaurant owners and I love food. So it's really an event for me to go out. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy dining. It's just very fun for me. And Dantana's is just, it's twice a week anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Musso's is great. I think they're 102 years old now, which is unbelievable.
I see you there. I see pictures of you there at Musso a lot.
It's such a treat to go every single time. It's these places just have such soul, and we have lost so many old places and the old joints, with the red leather booths and the dark paneling and the dark lighting, like the old Hamburger Hamlet that I miss every day.
Oh, that was right there off of Sunset. And the hostess was Miles Davis's girlfriend. Yeah.
Wife.
Wife.
Yeah.
She was on the cover of one of his albums.
Yep. Mm-hmm,
and I saw her there, and she had the nicest attitude, and she was smiling. And I told her how much I loved Miles, and she was beautiful. I mean, really pretty.
Oh my gosh, sure. She was the hub of that place. And when I was growing up, I'm born here, but my mom is from Ohio, my dad's from Philly. So when our families came to visit us in Los Angeles, they'd always say, we want to see movie stars. Where do we meet movie stars? It was the Hamburger Hamlet. That's where you went. It was every night of the week. You'd see Lucille Ball or, Dean Martin. And
let me ask you, in the 90s, I was in Vegas and they had a Brown Derby. I still have the coaster from the Brown Derby. But the Brown Derby, of course, closed in LA, and then I guess they opened one in Vegas. Yeah. Do you remember what year when did it close in LA? That was way before your time, right? Way before your time.
No, I did go to the Brown Derby in Hollywood, and I went to the one in Beverly Hills.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I rember those around in the 90s.
I think were. Okay.
They were.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure I should know this. Me and Mobley should know this.
Right.
I think that, when I'm saying early 90s, maybe late 80s, it's hard for me to believe they don't exist.
Okay.
It's hard for me to believe that they have not brought back a Brown Derby yet, with a Cobb salad. And it just seems like a no-brainer. It seems like a no-brainer to even bring back the Hamburger Hamlet. I mean, they brought back Tale of the Pop, so we're happy about that.
I saw that. I saw that on your Instagram. I also saw kind of a major move for you, Miss LA, Palm Springs. You bought a place, a really cool mid-century place in Palm Springs. How do you like Palm Springs? Oh, yeah?
I love it. I don't like it in the summer, but I like it, I like it between, I'll say late October to about April. It's pretty incredible.
No, it's magical. I have a place outside of Palm Springs. It's so, the desert is special. It's very relaxing. It's like, it's opposite LA. It's just so low key. And you talk about restaurants, they have live music at every restaurant. I know you go to Wally's Desert Turtle. I go there.
Yeah.
That's a good spot.
I love it. Oh,
and of course, say it with me, Melvin's.
Melvin's. We got to get out there one night. I mean, my gosh.
That place is, I took my brother.
They have beef Wellington and steak Diane. I mean, you can't get more old school than that.
Do you know if they changed their menu? Because they used to have a bigger menu, and I checked it. I checked it out online about 6 months ago. Did they tighten up the menu or not?
I think they did. I know they have different management now, but I was there recently, and it kind of was reminiscent of the old Melvin. So I think they're bringing back some of those dishes, because I think at one point they weren't doing steak Diane by the table,
right?
But now it's back. They're doing it.
Okay. And they have the Sinatra napkins, and they have the music. Yeah. And my brother, when he saw it, thought it was stuck in the 70s, which is fine, which is exactly what I want. But I don't know what decade it's stuck in. But I also know, I saw before he passed away, you were friends with Peter Bogdanovich. How did that happen? And what was he like?
Oh gosh. Well, I used to produce a TV show for TV Land many, many years ago, which was about celebrity big breaks. And I was doing a feature on Sybil Shepherd. And of course, if you're going to do anything with Sybil Shepherd, you get an interview with Peter Bogdanovich, it kind of goes hand in hand. And so I flew to New York to interview him. This is like 2003.
Right.
And then, and running into him here and there, but then something magical happened last year. I threw a gathering for him here at my house for the 50th anniversary of the Last Picture Show.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wanted to come somewhere where he could hold court with very, very close friends. About 12 people, it couldn't be more than that. And it was just intimate. And, this is sort of a COVID. He was just wanted to be in someone's home and not away from, being out in public. So I offered it at my place, and it was incredible, not knowing that he would pass away like 2 months later.
Yeah.
It was just shocking to me when I read
because
that.
You had video of the party, and I've heard him speak, and he's very entertaining. I've seen Ben Mankiewicz interview him a number of times, and he does a Hitchcock impression. I mean, he does he does voices, and and I love The Last Picture Show. I've seen it many times. Yeah, so that must have been pretty cool.
It was really special, and just to know that it was his one of his last outings. And he wanted to come back. And that's what, was very upsetting, because I have a roof up here that he wanted to actually film something on. And of course I told him anytime, and never got to happen. But I'm just so grateful that he was here and wrote me a beautiful email after, just what it meant to him. He hadn't been out in a while because, we're coming a little out of COVID at that point. We're all vaccinated, but he had come, he'd been indoors for about a year and a half. Right. So to have him here was one of the most special nights.
Yeah, it is.
I wish I could have,
You do a great service. I think I love that you adore old Hollywood, but even just the architecture, you're big into music. I know you knew the Monkees, a lot of the Monkees, Mickey, you know these people, and it's the way you can, I'm such I'm not a recluse, but you spread yourself thin. You're such a social person, and I admire that you know all these different people, and you seem to have boundless energy. I just want to sit and have a vodka and listen to my jazz and write a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Too, though. Yeah. I'm going to do that in Palm Springs once it cools down. I'd like to spend about 2 months out there and just nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't like Gary Oldman, I guess, is now a full-time resident of Palm Springs. And it's interesting that some of these guys aren't afraid to say where they live. And I mean, we don't know exactly where it is, but I like, if I find a place, I don't want people to know if it's Rancho Mirage or Indian Wells, because I don't want it to get so crowded out there. But the prices are great. I bought a few years ago, and it's the price is, the investment is ridiculous.
I know. And they're going up. So I got in right before the big, crazy explosion of prices.
My friend, I have a writer friend named Mike Gibbons, writer, producer. And I interviewed him for this podcast. He's very entertaining, but I talked to him a while back, and I was saying something about the desert, and he said, "Hey, I follow your friend Alison. She just got a new chandelier in her Palm Springs house." Because you give these updates when you get a new light fixture. I love them because it takes a while to find them. Right? It takes a while to decorate the house.
I like to give design tips. Like one of my one of the things I really love about social media is, oh my God, Instagram, you can just get sucked in to all the design tips on there and wallpaper and what you can, and where you buy this and that and this. So I thought, I got this place. I'm starting from scratch. It's totally empty inside. I'm just going to start doing, here's how the living room's coming on, blah, blah, but you can get this here and there. Because let's face it, the antique shops out in Palm Springs are unbelievable. You can design an entire house on a budget. That's just not normal, compared to LA, where you're just, and things you can take them that day and put them in your house that day. where you don't have to wait 18 weeks for a couch because there's consignment shops and antique stores and flea markets, and it's endless. It really is. It is a retro heaven out there in Palm Springs. Everything's one of a kind.
Right.
Like you said, there's music in all the restaurants that you never see.
Live music everywhere.
Live music, even
and these are talented musicians. And I saw you. I think I saw you. Was it Frankie Avalon or who was singing recently? Did you attend something?
I saw Paul Anka perform,
okay.
and then I saw an interview with James Darren and Frankie Avalon.
Okay.
Which was quite something. Palm Springs has a great place there's a lot of places in Palm Springs where they interview these old school. I'm going to try to do it myself when I get out there. I'd like to do something with Wink Martindale. I'd like to interview him.
The old game show host. He's out there?
Yeah. He's out there. He left Calabasas a few years ago for Palm Springs.
Right.
They all are. And Angie Dickinson I just ran into her out there. I mean, it is like old Hollywood out in Palm Springs.
That is so classic.
Yeah, it is.
Wait, I was just going to ask you. Oh, this is funny. Allison, have you ever heard of The Nest? Out there or not?
Wait.
The Nest? Wait,
no,
The Nest?
Tell.
It's in Indian Wells. It's a music spot, live music, very good live music. And it's kind of, like 70, 80-year-olds hitting on each other and dancing, but it's fun people watching. And this lady Dodie and her husband run it, and it's really nice, but it's hilarious. So sometimes you go out for dinner and I tell the waiter, we're going to The Nest, and everyone laughs and smiles. It's kind of a meat market for the seniors, and it's very good live music. They have talented musicians there. Yeah, it's called The Nest.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you go in the men's room, which you never will, there's a big picture of Sinatra and Tommy Lasorda right over the men's urinal. But anyways, so you didn't know Sinatra at all, did you?
Well, after that story I told you from the beginning of our podcast that kept Dad out of Vegas.
Yes.
Here's the thing. That Dad and Frank never had like an altercation. They never had an issue, face to face. These are things that you heard from other people. Oh, Frank's got it out for you. Or Frank didn't like when you did this, and Dad would say something and Frank would hear it. They had a very good mutual friend, Jerry Vale. Okay, so Jerry would be at our house on a Monday, and then he'd be at Frank's on a Sunday. And somehow word would travel back and forth, what Al said. I always wanted them to make up. Obviously I would have liked to have spent time with Frank. But I think being on the same record label, I think The Godfather had something to do with it. Dad had recorded Strangers in the Night, and Frank took it.
Right.
There were things, look, it's competitive. It's like realtors or producers or singers. They were competitive. I mean, there's only one Frank. We know that. But there was a room for a lot of those Italian-American singers.
Right.
I'm glad that he was able to survive and stay on labels. I mean, and I don't think they ever... I always know that word had gotten back to Dad that Frank had tremendous respect for him, and I always thought that was a good thing to hear. And at one point, they ran into each other at Mateo's, and remember Mateo's was like another old school place in Westwood. Sunday nights was the Frank Sinatra night. And Dad would walk in with people who knew Frank, and Frank was in the back of the room, and everyone went up to say Frank, and Dad went right to his table, and Frank's going, "Why isn't Al coming over here? Why isn't he coming over here?" So I think there was always a thing.
Right.
And so I've gotten over it as time has gone on, but I think that, it was a competitive sort of thing, and, those guys didn't write their own songs. So, you had to depend on your record label and people to give you songs, and maybe Frank would get it, maybe Dad would get it, maybe Jerry or Vic Damone would get it. Everyone was scrambling to get these songs. And if you were on a record label like Capitol, you're very fortunate to get incredible songs given to A&R that would give them to, guys like Dad and Frank.
You also had Dean Martin, who was there and very talented as well. So I can't remember, did you have a colorful high school that you went to, and did you have a lot of, you're laughing, but isn't it like you went to,
well, I'm laughing, and it's not even funny, but I'm laughing because I went to Beverly High, and a lot of people ask, like, did you go to school with Angelina Jolie and Nicolas Cage and all that? And who did you graduate with? But I graduated with Eric Menendez. He was in my graduating class. So that sort of put a dark cloud over my graduating class.
Wow.
because that was pretty shocking.
I didn't know that. I don't think the people know, but that was a big, the brothers murdered their parents. Right?
Yeah.
It was harsh. And it
was harsh.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really bad. And, it was, and we were friendly with him. So that's why it was so shocking that, your 18-year-old friend that you graduated with in school at first I felt bad for them. Oh my God, their parents were murdered. This is horrible. Right. Oh my God, we got to reach out. To a few months later, the word is they did it. Wow. And then they're arrested. Wow. So that was a big topic during 1989.
Right. It's weird because I thought I had heard something like, oh, I thought it was different. I didn't think it was that negative. I thought it was, I knew, and you were going to list some like you said, list some actresses or something that you knew. That's crazy. So let me think, what else did I want to ask you? I have a whole list I know we're not going to get to everything. How do you choose the stories that you're going to cover? How do you choose when you're going to, do a story on this singer or this actor or post a picture of this old restaurant? How do you decide those things?
I mean,
because you work hard. You work pretty hard at it, I think.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I guess sometimes it depends if there's an anniversary coming around or if they've been in the news lately or just celebrating and appreciating someone who hasn't gotten any attention lately, which I think is important. I sort of like my friends say, all your friends are over 80. Like, yes, I love that era. I love the era of that Hollywood. There's not a lot left. Peter Marshall's a dear friend. We adore him. Just to sit in his living room and listen to him talk is just so fascinating. And those, they just deserve to be out there like anybody else is.
It's interesting. This is one of the reasons that we have something in common. And people have told me that I'm old school. I watch old movies. We're going to do our top 5 movies coming up.
Okay.
And I have this, respect for, I was friends with Merv Griffin. Dennis Farina was not particularly old, but we were friends before he passed early. He was a great guy. We went to Mateo's. We went to Mastro's.
Yeah.
Mateo's with the T, the one in Westwood. And then there's Medeo's, which keeps moving around.
Yes.
Where is it? It's now on Sunset, right?
The new Medeo is now on Sunset and La Cienega.
Right.
In that building called The One.
Is it, have you been or not?
Yes, it's great.
How is it?
It's great. It's just great. We'll go sometime.
Yeah.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
I used to go after work when it was on Beverly, because it was right down from CBS Television City, and it was down a few steps. And I would sit in the bar, which was, just around there.
Yeah.
And there was in this Italian restaurant was the sweetest French bartender who was there for a while. And he was always so nice to me. Then he went up to Santa Barbara. But I love sitting at the bar and having a drink. And it's just the greatest.
Yeah. I miss that location a lot. I miss the one
I think everybody
underground.
Does.
Yeah, there was something very New York about it, or something. They're going down.
Right.
You felt like you're underground, and it was kind of, I don't know, no windows, and it was just pretty special. But I like the new location a lot.
I'm going to check it out. What's everything? What's the latest with the Chateau Marmont?
I actually don't follow a lot of that story, but a good friend of mine goes there a lot. I guess it's going back to the way it was.
No,
it was supposed
for public?
Yes,
oh, really?
I believe so, because a couple friends of mine have already booked reservations there. They're not members. I don't know what this whole thing about. You had to be a member to get in there, but they were trying to turn into a VIP members only hotel club. I don't think that went over very well.
That's what I heard, and then I heard they were naming some of the actors that are supporting it and going there, but now you're telling me it might go public again. It's a beautiful building. It's going public again.
I could be wrong, but it is. It's remarkable. It really is.
I used to live right up behind there, and I'd walk there all the time. Would you have your favorite, besides Dantana's and Musso, do you have your favorite restaurants in LA?
Besides those, there's other restaurants. I mean, I also love I love Nate Now's. They just reopened again.
Yeah.
They've been closed for a while. I'm so mad Greenblatt's closed. That's really, because I love an old school delis and
right next
coffee
to
shops.
the Laugh Factory on Sunset, Greenblatt's. I used to get Reuben's there, tuna melts and chicken salad. I mean,
yes, I mean that was like again
everything
with the
on
wood
rye
paneling.
except pumpernickel for the Reuben because I like the rye, and that was a great place.
I know. I hope it comes back, but I love Taylor's Steakhouse. I think that's super old school fun.
They use that in a lot of They use it. Well, the television show Bosch. They use a lot of Formosa and Musso, and I think they've gone to Taylor's, and that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I like watching Bosch because they shoot around L.A. It's just cool. We've been there. It's just a smart. It's a smart idea because I think some of us really take pride in old L.A. and the classic. I tell people don't waste a drink on a subpar setting. So I want to drink in a 1920s restaurant. I don't want to drink in a modern restaurant. And I think you and I, we're old souls but of course your dad's a legend, but we appreciate that. We appreciate old movies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an era that we grew up in that just, it was almost like in theme restaurants. There were a lot of that when I grew up. Like there were a lot of tiki bars and Polynesian restaurants and they're all gone. There was one called the Luau that was so amazing.
I wasn't a fan. I'm weird. I wasn't a fan of Trader Vic's because it's not my thing. It's not my vibe, even though I know everyone loved Trader Vic's. Oh. And they have one up in San Francisco at the Fairmont. Tonga Room. Yeah. And it used to be just the pool for the hotel that was built in the 1920s. But actually, it was built right before the earthquake in 1904. But the earthquake was, I think, 1906. Yeah. But I'm not a fan of the tiki stuff. But I don't criticize it too much. I'm a little like I like the red velvet or the red leather booths. Yeah. And then the piano bar and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I never get tired of that. We have two more segments. The next segment is called Lord Kilby Leadership. Just a couple quick questions. Okay. They're very hard hitting, but it tells us a lot about people. Okay. All-time favorite singer besides your dad?
Oh my God, that is so difficult. That is really, really hard. I could go so many directions.
You could go Rod Stewart, Tom Jones. You could go.
I know. But, I have to say David Bowie for so many reasons.
Oh, what a great. Yeah. Do you know that every woman I've dated loves David Bowie?
It's because everyone he covered everything. Yeah. He's a crooner. He's pop. He's everything. And all the different looks and all the different records and all the different producers he'd worked with and all the different eras. I'd have to say if I was just on an island with just his records, I would be very happy.
I was a huge Bowie fan. I've told this story, but I moved to LA in the late 80s and I was living on Navy Street in Venice, near Davy Jones Liquor Locker. And I was reading a Bowie biography. Keep in mind, I'm from the Midwest. I really haven't spent that much time in LA. And I'm 23 or 24, whatever I am. And I'm reading a Bowie biography. And I say, Craig, get out of the house. It's 2 p.m. Get out of the house. So back then you drive to Beverly Center. So I drive all the way to Beverly Center to walk around, and about 30 feet away, I see this beautiful woman with unbelievable legs. She has shorts on, walking with some nondescript guy with a hat on. And they walked by me and went to B. Dalton, and I said, oh my God, it's David Bowie.
Oh, of course.
He was with the Dancers, the Glass Spider Tour, like 87 or something. And he was dating his dancer at the time, and that's why she had great legs. But I put down the Bowie biography, and there I see Bowie at B. Dalton Bookseller.
Such a great sighting.
Yeah. He was great. Okay, favorite. This is the one I always love to ask people. Again, these are hard hitting. It tells you a lot about people. Favorite pie.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm not a pie person.
Oh, but you're the second person who's not a pie person. Wow.
But I'll tell you how I became one.
Okay.
Recently. There is a restaurant, I'm sure you know it, Billy Reed's.
In Palm Springs. Yeah.
Right. And Billy Reed makes the greatest pies. He's known for pies.
But
hilarious. I would never go in there for pies. I went in there for a Reuben or fish and chips or a salad until he's like, you got to try one of my pies. And every time I go there now, I take one to go. But they have every flavor. They have like 80 different pies. So I'll eat them there, but I'm not the big, like I'm not a dessert person.
Can you choose one or not?
You can choose one, but
can you choose a flavor for this answer to answer this question? Can you choose one?
Oh, I'd have to go with lemon meringue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like lemon meringue.
I would say
I like
that.
lemon meringue.
Yeah, I do.
By the way, I've never been to Billy Reed's, but I've seen it. It looks old school. It has like the biggest parking lot, right? I just love that they have a big ass parking lot.
You haven't been there is not right. I know.
I drive by it. I can't go everywhere.
Well, and they also have a great bar for a drink.
Oh,
it looks like New Orleans when you walk in there.
Oh, okay.
It's so your vibe. You would love it.
My favorite, I like pumpkin pie. I like key lime pie, but I
like key lime pie.
Yeah. Okay. Here's one for you. Favorite Italian dish?
You know, I'm on a manicotti kick.
Ooh.
I love manicotti. There's not enough of that on menus in Italian restaurants. Manicotti, obviously chicken parmesan.
Some people have said chicken parm, and some have said don't choose chicken parm. It's not really Italian.
It's really not.
Yeah. Now, tell me if this is right. I worked in an Italian restaurant in Santa Monica when I lived on Navy Street. It was called Papa Louie's. Now I think it's Library Ale House. And they would serve a side of manicotti with a little pomodoro. So the manicotti was, this is how they made it. It was in little crepes with a little cheese inside. Mm-hmm. Usually ricotta. Is that right?
Always.
Okay.
Always ricotta.
Always ricotta. Okay. Yeah, that's tasty. And you're saying, I only know it as a side. Is it actually is it an entree or just a side?
Oh, yeah. Get it as an entree. Dan Tan, it's the greatest manicotti I've ever had.
Oh.
It's good. You get they're like two little, like you said, they're like in these little, they're almost like little burritos.
Right.
You know? And they're so good.
Yeah, they're tasty. And then, of course, they have, for sweets, they have cannolis all over the place.
What's your favorite
I'm not a big
Italian
fan of, what's that?
What's your favorite Italian dish? What's your favorite?
Well, I used to say up until a few weeks ago, because I get in trouble, I used to say veal marsala or veal scallopini, but I don't say veal anymore. So I like eggplant parm and linguine con vongole. I like that with a little Parmesan. I like the white. Sometimes I have it with red, the linguine, but usually it's white, the white wine and the garlic, and it's great. Those are mine.
Yep.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Alison Martino's top 5 movies of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, Zelle is a great way to send money to family and friends no matter where they bank in the U.S. As you can tell by looking at me, Craigers eats out a lot. Oh, a lot of French restaurants. And sometimes my friends pick up the bill, and I don't like that. That's a no-no. So after dinner, I look them in the eyes, shake their hands, and I say, I'm going to send you some money through Zelle. And I send them hundreds of dollars because I ordered a lot of food. Sometimes we have a barbecue down in the park and everyone pitches in and I use Zelle. And I send my friends hundreds of dollars through Zelle. It's kind of a rush. I'm in the park, I'm wearing linen, I'm having barbecue, and then I'm sending money to friends. I like Zelle. Money sent goes straight into the recipient's bank account, typically in minutes between enrolled users. And you don't have to download another app because it's probably already in your banking app. That's convenient. So look for Zelle in your banking app today. Thanks for listening. I'm a very, very good person. We are back. We did this when we had drinks, and you felt pressure when we did this top 5 movies. Are you okay?
I wonder if they'll be the same answers because they change a lot.
Well, I always tell people they can change them, and the 5th one you can rotate. I rotate my 5th one. So give me. It doesn't have to be in order.
Okay.
Just give me your top 5.
My top five. Top 5. It's literally impossible, but I'll try. Does The Godfather count? Does that one?
Yes, and people do say it. It does count.
But for me,
on AFI,
count?
On AFI, it's the 3rd ranked movie of all time after Citizen Kane. I always forget this, and Casablanca. It's number 3 on AFI. So yes, that's a great one to choose.
Well,
and you
it
should
has
choose
to be
that.
there, and it's obviously for obvious reasons. That's why I thought it might cancel itself out. But yeah, The Godfather. And honestly, the more I see it, I always notice something different. So yes, it's always going to be in there. I'm a huge Jaws freak.
Oh,
like I love Jaws. I am obsessed with Jaws forever.
But you were too young when it came out, right?
I was about 5. But I, again, I was a little odd kid because my dad always took me to movies. And he didn't care what they were rated. So I got to see all kinds of cool movies when I was younger. A very progressive dad. So Jaws is there. Still one of my favorites. Lately, I have been watching Casino over and over over again. Yeah. Oh, my God.
So Pesci's a little intense in that movie.
A little?
I'm always afraid. He's just talking to somebody. I'm always afraid he's just going to shoot him. It's just scary. It's just like, maybe that's what they want me to think.
He's so unbelievable. And Sharon Stone is just, I just love her so much in that movie. And so I'm having a Casino, moment right now.
Right.
I love Network. That's Network's
great movie.
Probably
great
one of my
movie.
favorite movies of all time. I could watch it over and over. Anytime it's on, I'm like, oh, I got to watch this. That's 4, right? Is that 4? Did I do 3? Okay. Oh, God, I have one more?
Yeah,
No,
I think that's 4. That's not 3, right? Godfather?
But then there's comedies I love. I love The Party with Peter Sellers,
Right.
And I love 10 with Dudley Moore. So it's hard.
That was
really
the
hard.
first R-rated movie I ever saw. Was you
10?
say 10 with Dudley Moore? I say 10 with Bo Derek. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, that is, talk about an LA film. That is truly an LA movie.
Yeah.
And he's driving around and his car says ASCAP on it. I mean, I'm sure he's playing like George Weber. It's like, it's such an LA film and all shot on location. So it's so fun to watch.
That's a good one. Blake Edwards. How many is that? Is that 4 or 5? You said Godfather. You said 10. Jaws.
10,
That's 3.
Network. Casino.
Network. That's 4. Oh, yeah, it's 5. You did 5. Good
and
job.
I got The Party in there, sort of in there, but no,
they're honorable mentions.
Forever.
I'll quickly give you my 5. I mine don't really change. I probably told you this the night we had martinis, but it was I'm a Hitchcock fan, so I named North by Northwest. Cary Grant, I love that movie. The Graduate, one of my favorites.
Yes.
Obviously, it's one of my favorites. It's in my top 5. Chinatown.
Yeah, that's there too.
Sunset Boulevard, Billy Wilder, Sunset Boulevard. I love it. And I think that's 4. And then I name a contemporary one that I rotate. I used to say Tootsie for the 5th one, but I'm saying one from 2004, Sideways, the Paul Giamatti. Don't you love that movie?
Seen it 50 times. Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. He's brilliant. They're all brilliant, all 4 of them. They're amazing.
It's so entertaining.
And well, how many people, we all wanted to take that trip. After you saw that movie, we all wanted to go to the wine country and Solvang and all that. And
I love it up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so just before we go, how many times have you seen The Godfather, would you say?
Countless. At least, honestly, all the way through, at least 50 times.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. A lot.
So great.
Because so many times I showed it to friends who hadn't seen it, or, every Christmas we watched it. So it was just always on.
That's so great.
Yeah.
That's such great. Great to see you again. Thanks for doing the show. And we'll see you again because we have so many other things to talk about. But that was really fun. Thank you, Alison.
Thanks for having me. I'm off to Dan Tannis for my manicotti.
I'm going to swing by there just to say hi.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye.
All right, it's time for some questions. Keep those questions coming. People are grooving on this segment. They're really liking it, and I'm enjoying it too. I love helping out people. Here is the first question.
Good morning, Lord Kilby. This is Frank from Wisconsin. I just wanted to say that, yes, you are correct. Pumpkin pies are the best pies, so thank you for setting the record straight on that. My question is, do you have any stories that you could share with us about your time on the set of Old School? And do you have any plans of being in any movies in the future? Also, never forget, guys don't tell on other guys. That's something chicks do. You're not a chick, are you? All right, good talk. I'll see you out there.
I've never heard that before. Thank you for the pumpkin pie. Thank you for the Old School delivery. It was very good. Let me think. I don't have, off the top of my head, I have no stories from the set because I wasn't there very often because I was still doing the Late Late Show. So I think I had 9 days where I had to come in late to do the Late Late Show. So I was only on set a few days and no stories jump out. And then, yes, I'll be doing multiple movies in the future. I'll let you know when they come out. I'll let you know all about that. Thanks for your question. Let's go to the next one.
Hi, Craig. This is Paul in Tuxedo, New York, birthplace of the tuxedo. I know you get this question a lot. How do you do it? But my question is, how should I do it? Thanks.
Stay positive. Those are my 2 words. Life is magical. Stay positive. I also view, going from ESPN to late night is my Super Bowl. So it's nice when you accomplish something, but I just think stay positive is the key to everything. Beyond that, stay healthy, exercise, get your 8 hours of sleep. Don't drink too much, eat healthy, all that kind of stuff, but stay positive. Next question. I'm proud of you guys. Next question.
Hey, Craigers. One Alfred Hitchcock movie I haven't heard you mention yet happens to be my favorite,
Ooh.
Notorious, Mr. Cary Grant. Thoughts on that movie? I think Mr. Cary Grant brings it in that film. One of my favorites of all time. Follow-up question, Craig. What does bring it mean to you? Thanks.
That is a good, Notorious is great. Very good film. I do enjoy it. There are others I enjoy more. Vertigo, Strangers on a Train, Shadow of a Doubt, very underrated. Psycho, Rear Window. So I like Notorious, but yeah, it's a very good movie, but it's not in my top 5 Hitchcock. I'll tell you that. Bring it. It just means if someone's got game, if someone has talent, you bring it, and you reach your potential and you bring it, and you show up when you have to. If we're gonna cook dinner, I got to bring it, and I got to make the roast beef the right way. If I'm going out for dinner and people want me to be entertaining, I got to bring it, and that's what that means. It means showing up and performing. Next question.
Hey, Craig. Been a big fan since the SportsCenter days. I've heard you answer many times the question about why you walked away from the Late Late Show. But I'm curious to know what inspired you, what excited you, what drew you back to do the Kilborn File. Love to hear your answer. Thank you for the podcast, and sincerely, best of luck with it.
Thank you, sir. Kilborn File was syndication. You always want to try syndication. Syndication is crazy. It's this thing that happens in daytime, and there's if it hits, it's a pretty cool thing. But you just wanted to take a shot at it. It's like hitting the lottery. So the Kilborn File was a unique opportunity. But when I was doing it, I kind of knew it was solid. And in syndication, you got to do something a little outrageous to pop. And I'm not outrageous. I'm low key and reserved. Thanks for your question, and thanks for your comments. Next question.
I have a question. Craigie, we all know you have a really terrific sense of humor, kind of. My question is, would you feel comfortable playing just a straight dramatic role like the lead in a drama? Or just professionally, would there always be something in you that felt constrained by that, and that you maybe would want to always edge things into comedy to make the performance shine? That's my question. Hashtag love you, baby.
Thank you, sir. I would play something dramatic if it was dynamic, is my favorite word. Some of the espionage stuff I really get a kick out of. I tell people one of my favorite miniseries is called The Night Manager, which is not comedic. But yeah, I would be interested in something like that. I love espionage, and that's a good question. Hey, guys. Thanks for your questions. That's our show. We'll see you next time. And remember, I'm proud of you.